Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Do you dread hearing the question, what's for dinner? Whether you spend your days keeping up with toddlers, running kids to after-school activities, or juggling a career and family, getting dinner on the table can be a struggle for us all. I'm Mariefiebach, a business owner, wife, and mom of 4. I'm on a mission to build stronger families one dinner at a time, and I'm here with tips, tricks, and inspiration you need to feed your family tonight. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. I'm your host, Mariefiebach. I'm so happy to be here with you today. Today, we're going to be talking about 4 steps to get you ready for a school year routine. I don't know about you, where you're at. My kids have 2 blissful weeks of summer left, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. I have friends whose school started this week and have other friends whose school isn't starting for 3 or 4 weeks, so there's still a lot of time for them. For me, I'm kind of in that zone where we're almost to the end of summer and I'm starting to think about the routine, and my body is kind of craving that routine. Do you ever get to that point in summer where you've had enough of the no schedules, and if you're like me, teenagers sleeping until noon and eating all day long? I'm ready to get back into a routine. I will openly say that I'm 80% hot mess and 20% I've got down, but that 20% that is in habits and established routines feels so good. And I'm probably on a lifelong journey to get the 80% moving towards those routines. I will never make it to 100. But the more routines and habits that I get set, the more brain space it gives me to focus on things that are more important. And so today we're going to talk about 4 steps to get you set up to start thinking about a school year routine. I'm not even going to talk about really what you want your school year routine to look like. We're just going to talk about some of the mental work that you can be doing now to get yourself set up for a good school year routine. So the first step is to take an honest assessment of where you are now at the end of summer. What in your household is really working well? And where are some of the hiccups and frustration? Are you planning your meals every week using the Feed Your Family Tonight weekly meal planning sheet? If you're not, go get your free copy. It's at feedyourfamilytonight.com/plan. And that will help you kind of start getting into a routine of weekly meal planning. If you're making your weekly meal plans, are you using those to make your grocery list? And are you going to the grocery store on a regular basis? Are you scheduling grocery delivery or pickup? Or are you like me and you've been taking multiple trips to the grocery store every week? Wherever you are, it doesn't really matter. I just want you to start thinking about where you are now and where you want to be once the school year really gets going underway. If you are like me and you're making multiple trips to the grocery store, I want you to think about, what are you going back for? Is there a spice that you've maybe run out of? Are there single weird items here and there? Or are you kind of running out of basics and you're having to go back to get things that you thought you had in your pantry or your freezer? If that is the case, I want you to start thinking about getting ready to do a deep dive grocery shopping trip. I talk all about deep dive grocery shopping in episode 99, and I try to do it about once a quarter. I am planning to take one right after Labor Day to get myself set up, and then I'll take one at the end of November to get myself set up through the holidays. While I'm kind of in this last month, I want to start thinking about what kind of basics are we using? What kind of basics am I going to need when I head into the fall? Because the kind of staples that I keep in the summer are often a little bit different than the staples that I need in the fall. Now in Kansas, it's going to be hot through October. So it's not so much a temperature thing, but there's different things that I need during the school year, different basics. Start taking assessments of the brands of items that you're using on a regular basis. What are the things that you're putting into your grocery cart or your Walmart or Target cart week after week? If you are buying things and they are shelf stable and your budget allows it, start thinking about buying those things in bulk so you're not having to get those day in, day out, and all you're having to do is fill in with the fresh stuff from week to week. One thing that has been causing me a lot of personal frustration is that I have not been going to the grocery store on a specific day. I've kind of been stretching the limits of my refrigerator and my pantry, trying to see if I can just go one more day. And you'd think that that would be good for your budget because you have less food waste and you're using up what's in your refrigerator. But what happens is that I run to the store because I just need hamburger buns, but the rest of the refrigerator is kind of stocked with stuff. But instead of leaving with just hamburger buns, I leave with hamburger buns and potato chips, and my kids come along with me and they throw a few things in the basket, and it actually has been counterintuitive and has been bad for the budget. It's also kind of been frustrating because it feels so good just to have less frequent trips to the grocery store. So that's one of my things that I've assessed that I need to work on in my home for the fall. So step one, just assess where you are and see what is working well and what is causing you frustrations. Step two is think about how things are going to work once school starts. How are your routines going to change? How is this going to affect the food in your home? I'm always going to be talking about things in the light of family dinner. And so your routine's changing. How is that going to change food in your house? Do you need to be packing school lunches? Are there different kinds of foods that you need to buy so that you have the right things to make school lunches? Or are your kids getting hot lunch at school? If they're getting hot lunch, you're probably going to need to be buying less food. Regardless of school lunch, hot lunch, or packed lunch, you're probably going to need to be prepared for some after-school snacks. If your kids are anything like my kids, they've been grazing all summer long. And when they go back to a routine of kind of meals at scheduled times, because that's what school dictates, they come home from school and they are starving. What kind of snacks are you going to need for after school? Are your kids super active and you need to have like little mini meals after school that have, protein, carbs, and a little bit of fat to get them through a practice so that they can come home and have a dinner? Or do you need to have really kind of tiny light snacks so that you don't ruin their appetites because you're having earlier dinners so that you can get them in the tub and get them to bed at a reasonable hour so they aren't cranky the next morning? The other thing is, with things looking different once school starts, is what is breakfast going to look like in your house? For me, breakfasts change quite a bit once the school year starts. Are you going to need to have some breakfasts that are portable that they can take in the car on their way to school? Are you going to be the mom that makes a big hearty breakfast, and breakfast is the meal where you're connecting with your family and you're really nourishing them and getting them filled up for the day? I've kind of done both of those things in different seasons of my family life. Start looking at what does breakfast need to look like. So step two, we're kind of thinking about how things are going to work and look different in the school year. Step three gets its own step because dinner is its own beast. And I want you to start thinking about what dinner time is going to look like once school starts. Dinner time is often more relaxed in the summer. In our home, we're often eating later. Even though my husband's getting home earlier, it seems counterintuitive, but it just seems to be how it is in our home. I've got teenagers. They tend to be night owls, and so everything kind of gets shifted later just by the nature of their natural sleep cycles. But dinner time in the school year is a little bit different. And in most homes, dinner time during the school year gets to be a little less relaxed and a little more rigid. And I don't mean rigid in a bad way. It's just that you usually have less free time in the evenings. We're kind of into that area where you're trying to fit so much of your life between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. I don't know about you, but when school starts, I feel that pressure that I'm trying to fit half my life into 4 hours of the day. Everything from practices and doctor's appointments and orthodontist appointments and fixing dinner and helping with homework and getting the kids in the bath. All of those things are trying to get fit into a 4-hour window. And dinner is a part of that 4-hour window. And it's something that you want to start thinking about. What do you want dinner time to look like? How are you going to adjust what you are currently doing so that dinner time does not feel cramped, does not feel rushed, and does not feel overwhelming for you or your children? And that leads straight into step 4, which is I want you to start thinking about your time. With the kids getting back into a regular routine, you can get back into a regular routine too. I don't care if you're working full time, if you're a full-time stay-at-home mom, or anything in between. Summer feels different than the school year. And one of the biggest blessings of the school year is that you get a little bit more control over your time as a parent because your children are spending time at school. So I want you to think about, when are you going to meal plan? I always meal plan on Mondays. When are you going to grocery shop? I told you I've kind of been grocery shopping all over the place this past summer, and I'm actually going to start blocking time on my calendar. I'm hopefully going to start doing it on Tuesdays because I plan meals on Mondays, but I'm going to start blocking time on my calendar for grocery shopping. And it may have to move around. In my life, it's definitely going to be moving around because nothing is ever completely routine in my home. And I suspect that's how it is in your home. But I'm going to block off the time for it, and I'm going to try and honor that time as much as possible. Next week, we're going to be diving deep into meal planning and prepping and cooking and looking at your time. So I'm not going to go into that so deep right now, but I want you to know that if you think about how your time is going to look different during the school year, and you start thinking about how you want your school year routine to look, it's going to start giving you some ideas. And once you get into that rhythm, it is going to start giving you brain space. Taking the time to assess where you are now, think about how things are going to look once the school year starts, looking at your dinner time, and then thinking about your time in general is going to help you start to set a school year routine. It's not going to be perfect. Life never is, but consistent routines and habits for the basic stuff like feeding your family is going to give you more brain space for the important stuff, like connecting with your children and connecting with your spouse and helping your children navigate the new school year, especially if this is their first time back in a school building, which a lot of kids across the nation, that is the case. This is their first time back in the school building in a very long time. Spending time and brain space on your spouse and your children is the stuff that strong families are made of. And that is what I am about here at Feed Your Family Tonight. So I want you to start getting some habits and routines going so that you can focus more on the things that are more important. Be on the lookout, friends, for something that I'm going to be releasing really soon. I don't have an exact date yet, but we have been working behind the scenes on a system to help you manage your recipes, your meal planning, your prep, and so much more. And I cannot wait to share. I also want to let you know that I am going to be doing another on-air coaching call very, very soon. And I'm looking for someone who is willing to come and talk with me through Zoom about some of their challenges with weeknight dinner. If you want an example of kind of what it feels like to be on air with me, you can listen to episode 116, where my friend Janice came on air and we kind of talked about some of her challenges with dinner. And she had a really big aha moment about the slow cooker that kind of blew her mind. Or you can listen to episode 141, where Emily came on and we talked about what it's like to be a full-time working mom and some ideas to help her get dinner on the table a little bit sooner after she picks up all of the kids from daycare. It really is lots of fun. And there's a little short application. It's at feedyourfamilytonight.com/apply. I would love for you to apply to come and be on air and chat with me about your dinner time, and we can come up with some ways to make it just a little bit better in your home. It doesn't have to be big, hairy, scary challenges, although I can deal with those too. But if you're interested in that, go to feedyourfamilytonight.com/apply. For now, friends, I hope that you are either A, enjoying the last blissful weeks of summer, or B, starting to get into a rhythm and routine with your family in the school year. I am so glad that you joined me, and we will catch you next week. Take care.